You didn't imagine that feeling. The way your chest tightens when they enter the room, the silence that speaks louder than words, the way your soul flinches not in fear, but in recognition. This isn't love at first sight. It's memory. It's something ancient pulling you back into a story you thought had ended lifetimes ago. You try to move on, but it lingers. You smile through it, but the ache never leaves. And now the universe is whispering its time. Not to forget, but to remember what you promised, and who you promised it to. Virgo, you didn't find this message by accident. Out of all the zodiac signs, your soul carries one of the most ancient, most service-oriented blueprints in the cosmic system. And right now, that blueprint is being activated. Why? Because this isn't just another chapter in your life. It's a lifetime your soul specifically chose to reconnect with someone from far beyond this timeline. Your nature, cautious, loving, analytical, makes you the perfect candidate for recognizing a karmic bond when it reappears. And it's not just about seeing it. It's about understanding why it came back and what it's here to teach you. Have you ever felt a strange pull towards someone that doesn't make sense? Like the logic says, maybe I shouldn't care this much. Maybe it's not rational, but the heart won't let go. Maybe you've met someone new, and instantly there's a connection you can't explain. You finish each other's sentences. You feel calm in their presence. Or maybe you've been tangled up with someone for years back and forth. Highs and lows. Breaking up and making up, and no matter how far you try to run, life keeps pulling you two back into each other's orbit. That's not coincidence. That's not weakness. That's karma. And karma is not just some punishment or reward system. It's the contract your soul agreed to long before you were born. Sometimes that contract says, I'll come back to help you heal. Sometimes it says, I'll challenge you so you can grow. And sometimes it simply says, I will find you no matter what lifetime we're in. These connections can be intense. They can shake your foundations, but they also awaken parts of you that nothing else can. They remind you of who you've been and what you're still here to become. Virgo, your job isn't to run from these moments. It's to slow down, tune in, and listen with your whole heart. You are not imagining it. You are remembering it. And when that person enters or re-enters your life, everything inside you will feel it. Not with fear, but with clarity and peace, like a puzzle piece snapping into place. And even if it hurts at times, even if the path is complicated, your soul will whisper, yes, this is the one we came back for. Let me give you an example. A woman named Clarissa once told me she met a man in a coffee shop, and within 5 minutes, they were talking like old friends. Not about small talk about life, death, purpose, forgiveness. And when she asked his birthday, it matched the same day her brother, who had passed away 10 years ago, was born. Chills ran down her spine. Was it her brother reincarnated? No. But her soul recognized a familiar frequency, and that changed everything. You might not get a clear sign like that, but you'll feel it in the way your energy shifts, in how deeply you care, in how hard it is to let go. That's your spirit remembering a promise. So don't ignore it. Investigate it. Sit with it. And see what awakens in you, because that's where the truth lives. Let's talk about soul memory, Virgo. This isn't something you learn in a classroom. It's not written in books or handed down in bedtime stories. This kind of memory lives in your energy field. It's encoded in your instincts, in your reactions to people you just met, in the way your heart sometimes responds before your brain even catches up. You know those moments when you meet someone and everything feels familiar, even though logic says there's no way you've crossed paths before. That's not your imagination. That's recognition on a soul level. Our souls remember what our minds forget. And Virgo, you more than most have the sensitivity to feel that, because you're wired to observe, to analyze, to notice patterns. But there are some patterns that go beyond this lifetime. You're not just noticing a person's habits or their words. You're picking up on echoes from past incarnations. Maybe you were friends. Maybe you were lovers. Maybe you were enemies. But the energetic fingerprint remains. And when that person shows up again in this life, your soul whispers, "There you are. I've been waiting." Now, most people brush these feelings off. They think, "Oh, I'm just being overly emotional." But you, Virgo, you can't ignore it because your body tells you something is different. You feel it in your chest, a weight, a pulse, a quiet knowing that this connection has history even if you can't put it into words. That's soul memory. There was a man I once met who told me about his first date with someone he had just met online. Within minutes of sitting down, they both started crying. Not out of sadness, but out of familiarity. Like they had finally come home after years of wandering. They didn't know why. They just knew. And months later, after several dreams, meditations, and synchronicities, they both came to believe they had been married in a previous life. Whether or not that's true doesn't even matter. What matters is how deeply they felt the bond and how that bond transformed them. Soul memory doesn't come to disrupt your life. It comes to remind you who you really are and who you've walked beside before. But here's the twist, it also comes to wake you up. Because not all karmic returns feel warm and fuzzy. Sometimes the people who trigger your soul memory are here to help you grow, not just to comfort you. And that growth can be uncomfortable. It can mean facing wounds you thought you buried. It can mean remembering roles you played that you're not proud of. But it's all part of the process. You didn't come here to forget, Virgo. You came here to remember and transform, to take the wisdom from those other lifetimes and finally use it in this one. So when that person crosses your path and your heart starts racing for no logical reason, pay attention. That's not anxiety. That's activation. And if it feels too intense, breathe. You're not crazy. You're just deeply awake. And your soul is finally reconnecting with a truth it's carried for centuries. And don't be surprised if this memory comes in fragments. A smell, a voice, a phrase, a sudden wave of emotion you can't explain. That's how soul memory works. It bypasses the logical gatekeepers and speaks directly to your heart. And over time, as you allow yourself to be open, you'll start to see the signs more clearly. Numbers repeating, dreams that feel more real than waking life, conversations that seem oddly familiar. That's the universe reminding you this connection is not new. It's old, and it's sacred. Let's break it down. Virgo. Because not every Virgo is carrying the exact same spiritual lesson in this lifetime. The stars, your date of birth, even the week you came into this world, these all shape the karmic curriculum your soul signed up for. So let's explore how your specific Virgo birth window might reveal the kind of karmic connection your soul is most likely to attract, and why. If you were born between August 23rd and September 2nd, your soul is here to learn balance. You've spent lifetimes giving, healing, fixing, holding others together, sometimes to your own detriment. You carry the energy of the sacred helper, the one who puts others first, even when your own cup is empty. And in this life, your karmic connection may show up as someone who needs you, but also challenges you to finally put yourself on the list. They might resist help. They might teach you boundaries. They might Now, if you're a Virgo born between September 3rd and September 13th, your path is about trusting your inner voice. You've mastered the art of logic, detail, and planning, but your karmic partner in this life may come to awaken something different. Intuition, feeling, faith. This person might not make sense on paper. They could be spontaneous, emotional, even a little chaotic. But they're not in your life by mistake. They're here to stretch you, to get you out of your head and into your heart, and through. And for those born between September 14th and 22, your soul work centers around vulnerability. You're strong, capable, reliable, but you struggle to let people care for you the way you care for them. Your karmic connection in this life might show up as someone who gently, sometimes forcefully insists on loving you. Not because you're broken, but because your soul craves that softness you've always denied yourself. It's not weakness, it's nourishment, and learning to receive it is part of your healing. Now let's be clear. No group is better or harder. Each Virgo path is sacred, and each karmic connection is tailor-made to help you break the patterns that no longer serve your highest growth. The person you're bound to in this lifetime, whether friend, lover, or something in between, will mirror the very lesson you came here to master. Here's what's wild. Most Virgos don't consciously know this, but they feel it. They know deep down that certain people aren't just people, they're assignments. They're activations. They walk into your life and everything starts shifting. And if you've ever felt overwhelmed, conflicted, or even angry at how much someone affects you, it's likely because that connection is karmic, and it's hitting you exactly where your soul needs to evolve. So instead of resisting the chaos, ask what it's teaching you. Instead of retreating into logic, explore what your feelings are revealing. And instead of carrying everything alone, let yourself be held. Because your birthday didn't just determine your star sign, it helped write the chapter of your soul's next evolution. And you, Virgo, were born at the exact right time to meet the person who would unlock it. Let me give you a quick example. I once worked with a Virgo woman born on September 6th. She was an accountant, hyper-organized, brilliant, always in control. But then she met someone completely opposite. He was a musician, free-spirited, intuitive, and unpredictable. At first, it drove her crazy, but something about him felt ancient, familiar, and despite all logic, she kept coming back. That relationship. It shattered her need for control and opened her to a level of emotional depth she never knew she had. So how do you know when you've actually met someone from your karmic past? Virgo, it's not always flashy. It's not always fireworks and soul music and tears. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just a feeling you can't explain but can't shake. You meet them, and it's like something in your spirit sits up straight and says, "There you are. Where have you been?" One of the biggest signs is instant familiarity. You don't just feel like you've known them, you feel safe with them. Your guard drops faster than usual. You're honest in ways that surprise even you. There's a softness in the space between you, like you don't have to earn their understanding. It's already there. That's your soul remembering. Another clue is time distortion. You can talk for hours, and it feels like minutes, or you haven't seen them in years. But when you reconnect, it's like nothing ever changed. Karmic connections have a way of bending time, because you're not just picking up from this life, you're continuing from the last. Then there's the emotional intensity. Even if the relationship isn't romantic, there's a weight to it. They can trigger you, challenge you, heal you. Sometimes all in one afternoon. You may feel overwhelmed by how deeply you care, and you may find yourself making exceptions, going out of your way, or forgiving things you normally wouldn't. That's not weakness. That's soul memory overriding logic. Here's another strange one mirroring. Your karmic partner often reflects something back at you that you've been avoiding. Maybe they show you your own patterns, your wounds, You're light. And because of that, the connection isn't always smooth, but it's real. It's growth-oriented, and you feel it in your bones. Let me give you an example. A man told me he met a woman at a friend's dinner party. They talked for 10 minutes, and he said he felt like he had known her his whole life. Over the next year, they both went through massive changes, quitting jobs, moving cities, healing trauma, and they did it side by side. He told me, it was like she activated something in me that had been asleep for years. That's the power of a karmic bond. Virgo, don't overthink these connections. Don't try to rationalize them into neat little boxes. If someone makes you feel deeply, if they awaken parts of you you didn't know were sleeping, if they both comfort and challenge you, pay attention. That's not just chemistry. That's legacy. And when your heart says yes, even if your mind says slow down, listen, because sometimes your soul knows the path long before your mind catches up. You might also notice synchronicities surrounding this person. Maybe their name keeps popping up. Maybe you run into them in unlikely places. Maybe they appear in your dreams before you ever meet them in waking life. These are the little cosmic nudges, signs from the universe that this isn't just coincidence, it's reconnection. So instead of brushing it off, lean in. Ask yourself what this connection is trying to reveal. Because most karmic relationships are not here to complete you. They're here to wake. Virgo, when people hear the phrase karmic connection, they often assume it's about romantic love. And yes, some of the deepest karmic bonds do show up in that form. But karmic connections are much more diverse than that. They can be platonic. They can be familial. They can even come in the form of someone you'd never expect, like a boss, a student, or a stranger who says one sentence that changes your life forever. Let's start with friendships. Have you ever met someone and felt like they just got you instantly? You finish each other's thoughts, laugh at the same ridiculous things, and can sit in silence without it feeling awkward. That's not just compatibility. That could be soul recognition. In some cases, your best friend in this life may have been your sibling in a past one, or your teacher, or your child, and now they've returned to walk beside you again, not for romance, but for companionship and mutual growth. Family, that's a big one. Sometimes your greatest karmic tests come through the people you're born into. Maybe it's a parent who challenges you. Maybe it's a sibling who triggers you more than anyone else. Or maybe it's a grandparent whose wisdom always seems to cut through the noise. Karmic family ties are often the hardest because we didn't choose them consciously, but on a soul level, we did. We agreed to show up in those roles to help each other evolve, even if the lessons are tough. And don't forget the unexpected ones. The stranger on a plane who tells you something that shifts your perspective. The mentor who appears just when you're about to give up. These are soul contracts, too. Not every karmic connection is meant to stay forever. Some are brief, powerful, and catalytic. So if you've been looking for a karmic bond only in the form of the one, you might be missing it. Open your eyes. Virgo. Karmic connections are everywhere. The universe speaks through people. And the souls you've known before, they're not always here to love you romantically. Sometimes they're just here to remind you who you are. There was a woman who once told me about a crossing guard she saw every morning on her way to work. They never spoke more than a hello. But one day, when she was feeling completely lost, he looked her in the eye and said, "You're stronger than you think." It brought her to tears. She couldn't explain why, but something in her shifted. That was a karmic moment, a soul reminder. Let's talk about responsibility. Virgo, not the kind you take on at work or in your daily routine. I'm talking about soul responsibility. The kind you carry when you recognize that a connection in your life isn't just emotional or romantic, it's spiritual. When you feel that pull, that knowing, that quiet urgency to show up for someone in ways that defy logic, that's not random. That's your soul stepping into its purpose. Karmic connections aren't casual. They don't just happen to fill time or entertain your heart. They come with weight, with history, with mission, and when you recognize one, you're being asked to remember the agreement you made long before you were born. Maybe you promised to help them heal something. Maybe they promised to help you break a toxic cycle. Maybe you both agreed to build something together, something that could ripple out and help others. This isn't always easy. In fact, it rarely is. Because karma doesn't come in comfort zones. It comes to shake you awake. Your karmic connection might push you to grow in ways you didn't ask for. They might hold up a mirror to the parts of yourself you've tried to avoid, but they're not here to punish you. They're here to awaken you, to stretch you, to show you who you really are when the ego drops and the soul steps in. You see, Virgo, you were born with this incredible ability to commit, to care, to stay when others leave, and that loyalty becomes sacred when applied to the right soul. Your karmic connection isn't just someone to love, there's someone to build with, to evolve with, and often, the mission you two share is bigger than just your relationship. It may be about service, about legacy, about healing ancestral patterns that go back generations. I knew a Virgo man who spent years in a complicated relationship. It wasn't perfect. They fought, they separated, they reunited. But every time, something drew them back. Over time, he realized they weren't just working on their present, they were healing wounds from past lives, he said. It's like every argument uncovered a different layer of pain we didn't even know we were carrying. But on the other side of that pain transformation, depth, purpose. When you approach a karmic bond with that kind of awareness, everything shifts. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? And that mindset alone turns struggle into sacred growth. Now, this doesn't mean you tolerate harm. Karmic doesn't mean toxic. Sometimes, the mission is to learn when to stay, and sometimes it's to learn when to lovingly walk away. But either way, the lesson is meaningful. And your ability to approach it with grace and discernment is part of what makes you such a powerful soul. So next time you feel that deep connection stirring in your chest, don't just ask if it's real. Ask what it's here for. Because your love, your time, your heart, they're sacred resources. And your soul knows exactly where to invest them, not just for your own growth, but for the elevation of everyone your life touches. Think of it this way: when two souls reunite across lifetimes, it's like two puzzle pieces finally clicking back together. And when that fit is right, when the mission aligns, the impact can be profound. Not just in your own life, but in your family, your community, even the world. So don't downplay it. Don't minimize it. Recognize the assignment for what it is and answer it with the full strength of your Virgo spirit. Let's stop dancing around it. Virgo, there's something you've been feeling deep in your chest, and you haven't been able to explain it. Maybe it shows up as restlessness. Maybe it's this tug in your heart every time you think about someone from your past, or even someone you just met who stirs something ancient inside you. And here's the truth. You've been avoiding that connection you can't seem to let go of. It's not just emotional, it's karmic. And it's waking up. This is the turning point. The moment your soul has been waiting for. The energy that's been quietly building inside you is not confusion, it's recognition. Your spirit remembers something your mind can't quite grasp yet. And now the universe is asking you to stop pretending you don't feel it. To stop minimizing the connection just because it doesn't make sense on paper. Karmic recognition isn't logical, it's visceral. It lives in your breath, your skin, your dreams. You may be asking yourself, why now? Why is this showing up at this exact moment in my life? It's because you're ready. You've done enough work. You've healed enough wounds. You've learned enough lessons. And now, You've reached a point in your evolution where you can actually hold the weight and the gift of this connection. But here's the thing. You can't carry it with half your heart. This isn't something you entertain casually. When karma calls, you either answer fully or the moment passes you by. And if you miss it, it could be lifetimes before the opportunity circles back. Think about the person you can't forget. The one who shows up in dreams, in memories, in moments of stillness. Maybe you've tried to move on. Maybe you've told yourself it was just a phase. But if your heart still aches without clear reason, if their name still vibrates in your bones, if every part of you lights up or shuts down at the thought of them, then this message is yours. It's time to stop running. It's time to stop questioning your own knowing. You don't need more evidence. What you need is permission to trust what your soul has already confirmed. And Virgo, if this connection has returned, it's because there's still something sacred to complete. Maybe a truth to be spoken, a wound to be healed, a path to walk together one more time, not for closure, but for purpose. I once spoke with a woman who told me she had finally found peace with someone she had loved decades ago. They had reconnected in their 60s, both remarried, both at peace. And yet, when they met again, they held hands, looked into each other's eyes, and just said, "I know. Nothing more. Nothing less." That was the closure they didn't know they needed and the beginning of something entirely new. This is your now moment, Virgo. The karma has ripened. The soul contract is active, and your heart knows the way forward. You don't need to make it perfect. You just need to be honest. Because when karmic connection collides with conscious awareness, it creates a kind of magic that not even time can undo. Don't be afraid if your emotions feel overwhelming right now. That's your soul reacting to truth. Not every karmic moment feels calm. Some arrive like storms. But even in the chaos, you'll feel a strange kind of clarity, like something ancient inside you is finally being seen. That's not just a climax. That's your awakening. So here you are, Virgo, standing at the edge of something ancient, something sacred, and something unmistakably yours. You didn't just stumble into this lifetime. You arrived with intention, with memory, with spiritual agreements etched into your soul. The connection you're feeling is not in your head. It's not wishful thinking. It's your soul recognizing a chapter that was never truly finished. And maybe, for the first time, you're allowing yourself to believe that, to stop dismissing your deepest feelings as imagination. Maybe now you're starting to see that all those little signs, all those restless nights, all those moments of déjà vu were never random. They were the universe nudging you closer to truth. And now that you know, now that you feel it in your bones, what are you going to do with it? Because awareness is only the beginning. The real transformation happens when you act on what you've remembered. When you show up fully for this connection, not as the old version of you, but as the one who's ready to heal, ready to speak truth, ready to love without fear. You don't need to force anything. If this is truly a karmic connection, it will unfold in its own time. But you do have to say yes. Yes to awareness. Yes to honoring what you feel. Yes to letting your soul lead for once, instead of always relying on logic. And trust me, Virgo, when you do, you'll feel lighter, clearer, more connected not just to them, but to yourself. So now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me, have you felt a connection that defies explanation? Have you ever met someone and just known, deep down, that they were more than a stranger? Your story could help someone else recognize their own soul bond. Let's build this space into a community of remembering, of honoring, of healing. And if you found even a sliver of truth in what you heard today, hit that subscribe button. This is just the beginning. I have so much more to share with you about karmic cycles, soul purpose, cosmic timing, and I want you here for every moment of it. Virgo, your heart has carried so much, but now it's time to let that heart guide you home. Remember, every soul has its own clock. Yours isn't behind, it isn't late, it's right on time. And everything you've felt, everything you've questioned, it's been leading you here, to remembrance, to reconnection, to the kind of clarity that only comes when you stop doubting and start listening. You've got this. In the next video, I'll reveal how to break a karmic tie without breaking your soul. Don't miss it.